you all know, the NDP has been the safe hands looking after this country for the past term. And we are still fighting for you, fighting for Canada. The NDP is fighting for the economy. We want a fair economy that can help Canada grow. We are fighting for the environment and energy. We believe it is possible to have a quality energy policy while also keeping the environment healthy and safe for Canadians. We are fighting for fair foreign policy. We believe that fairness should play a key role in our foreign policy and will ensure that it does. We are fighting for your safety. We want to make sure that all Canadians can feel safe at home. And we are fighting for your social health. We want to make sure that if you happen to fall ill or happen to lose your job, that you're not going to end up in a very bad situation. The NDP is here and is fighting for Canada, and we are fighting for you.
Thank you for all members of your respective party for your introduction. I'll now move on to the first question, which is the economy topic. The order of each round would be of the economy topic would be Red Wolf, Zhang, Stevie, Teddy, and then Carol. The first question is, as you all know, Canadian workers and wages have experienced anemic and some may even say stagnant growth since the 2008 Great Recession. In fact, Canadian wage growth is the lowest since 1997 and has barely kept up with inflation, which the Bank of Canada continues to target. If you have the opportunity to form a government, how will you encourage wage growth and stronger economic futures for all Canadians? Red Wolf will have the floor right now. You could have about 1 minute to think about that question.
Well, the Libertarian Party reformed, we believe that the best option for the Canadian economy is through the free market. If you do your job well, you'll be able to get a higher salary on the free market when there's lots of competition. And so our policy would be that through an economic, sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied there, an economic policy that is more friendly to small businesses, that allows people to create small businesses, will create more competition, and it will help increase wages in Canada. That's sort of our policy on that.
Thank you very much for your answer. Next up, we have Zhang, who has the floor. Question is in the debate chat, by the way.
The Radicals believe the freedom through self-organization. We seek to strengthen the enforcement of labor standards to ensure workers are protected for the wages and the working conditions. We seek to introduce sectoral bargaining that includes self-employed workers. Many of the causes of the stagnant wages is because of the precarious work without union protection or predictable or guaranteed hours. And the Radicals will seek to introduce legislation that guarantees part-time workers the same rights as full-time employees, and we seek to introduce legislation that guarantee some predictable hours and allow them to claim additional compensation if their shift is unplanned and is unplanned. And we will introduce initiatives to promote workers' cooperatives and self-management. And we think the best step that Canadian workers can take to obtain wage growth and stronger economic futures is to participate in their workplace and to organize, and we will introduce legislations to ensure that they have the right to participate in major decisions of their workplace.
Thank you very much for your answer. Next up, we have Stevie. You may have the floor.
Well, thank you, and that's a very important question as it relates to the Canadian economy, because what we've seen is this is one issue, wage growth, which has affected almost every aspect of Canada, and what we can do is look at the past. What we can look at is what has worked, and what we can look at is, for example, manufacturing, and manufacturing wages are up nearly 20% since I believe 2006 or 2007, whatever that specific year is, but it's up 20%. We're talking about an industry of 1.7 million Canadians across this country. We're talking about nearly $2 billion in salaries every week for Canadian workers and Canadian families, which put literally food on the table. And how have jobs been able to be created at that rate? How have wages been able to expand at that consistent rate? Well, it's been through keeping our low tax regime. It's been keeping through and sticking through our strong economic policy, through helping Canadians through their vocational experience and skills, opportunities in manufacturing, and opportunities in the wider business climate as the country and as the world continues to accelerate towards research and development and the information sector of the economy. Canada is doing the same with strategic investments to encourage these things as we move into a 21st century economy, truly with Canada at the front. And we can do all these things and increase wages as well, because Canada is a country which is innovative by nature. And that is why we will continue to work not only for manufacturing, just as an example, but with agriculture as well, with blue collar, with white collar, all across this country to ensure that we have cutting edge technology, we have cutting edge resources for our workers to utilize, and we will make sure that wage growth and economic success work hand in hand, because Canada's strategic investment in ourselves begin when we can make strategic investments in one another. That means opening new markets. That means expanding the scope of the inquiry when we talk about the economy and how that relates to politics. That also means investing in things like manufacturing. For example, the Advanced Manufacturing Hub, partnership with employers and colleges and universities to expand how we initiate these protocols and how we initiate research in this country. And that needs to be made easier with investments such as the Automotive Innovation Fund for the last 10 years and 10 years ahead. And that means changing the parameters of our manufacturing sector and changing the parameters of our economy to be more than just something that's physically tangible, but also intellectually so, with research and development and technological growth. So the idea that Canada's economy is stagnant and anemic is not something that we should get used to. In fact, it's something we should fight. It's something we should fight with innovation. It's something we should fight by utilizing our legacy of strength and innovation. Thank you.
So the anemic wage growth that we're talking about is one of the things that I've certainly noticed when looking at various statistics and graphs, and what really jumps out at me, and I think Canadians can feel this, is that there is a portion of the country that just isn't able to keep up. I mean, you can look at the numbers and look at the stats, but when you ask Canadians how well things are going for them and how well things are going compared to how they used to be, how are your kids doing compared to how well you did, we can see that there is a large portion of the country, perhaps a third, perhaps 40%, or even more, that just aren't able to keep up. And there are reasons for this. And one of the key reasons is we're seeing that a lot of these benefits of growth are going to a small group of people. And this is why the NDP has been calling for reforms. We want to fight for tax reforms and get rid of boutique tax credits. We want to find a way to make sure that Canadians of all social classes and economic classes are able to climb the ladder of economic growth. We're going to ensure that corporations have the social responsibility that they need, and that we are going to provide for the tax credits for research and development, which will help to create the kind of jobs that these Canadians need. And that is what the NDP is going to do to ensure that all Canadians are going to benefit, and that a rising tide really will rise all boats.
Thank Thank you for your question, Carol. You have the floor.
As all Canadians know, the economy is always number one issue for everyone at the voting booth. And today, I'm here to say that we plan on helping end the stagnation of the wages. We have a plan to invest in the Small Businesses Bank, which will help small businesses and help innovators and entrepreneurs to start their own small businesses. This will improve the wages of these people. They will help able to invest in the Canadian people directly. And not only are we planning on investing in the Small Businesses Bank, but we want to help change tax calculations and introduce an infrastructure bank and to help plan and to help increase infrastructure. Working and investing in the infrastructure and investing into Canadians across the board is the way to help improve our economy. And so another plan that we have that will help, that will be to invest into Canadians across the board is to introduce a universal basic income. This way, through a two-step way, base through the federal government with allowing provinces to top up depending on their own economic situations. This will help to ensure that all Canadians have some livable wage, and then also helping to ease the load off of other social programs as such. But investing in our small businesses, investing in our Canadians who are working hard, who are innovating, is the way to help our entire economy. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. We'll now move to open debate. You can ask any question to one candidate of the topic in economy or related to the question. You, whoever wants to go, may go now.
All right, I guess I'll ask the first question here. I'd like to particularly ask the leader of the Reform Party how he believes libertarianism would best help the poorest and most needy Canadians.
I'm sorry, I can't quite hear what you're saying. Your mic is a little quiet. Can you repeat that?
Yes, I want to know how your libertarian suggestions and policies, in particular, how they would help, best help, in your opinion, the poorest of Canadians.
Well, I believe that in the free market society that the libertarians are trying to create, like my personal belief is that in that society we'll have a stronger economy, we'll have more innovation, and we'll have cheaper goods, which I think is something that is going to benefit everyone.
All right, if that's a question, if I may, with all due deference, may I ask a question?
Yes, you could go ahead, Steve. I just want to remind everyone that if the voice is quiet, you could right-click their name, use their volume, and increase it using the scroll bar. Go ahead.
Fantastic. So my question is to Caro, and this is sort of the elephant in the room, and it's sort of the subtle message between all of our campaigns. And it's in good, it's a good humor and everything. But let's talk about the budget. This is something that has been permeated throughout our campaigns, and it's why not just address it while we're on the topic of the economy. Caro, you have made the consistent argument of the budget that we released, or rather our government, our party-led government released last term. That's fair. I'd like to know from you, what specific changes would you make to the budget based off of this Parliament and passed to ensure that the initiatives and goals and objectives you set out